I've played through every single Fire Emblem game except one, Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War. And with this copy right here, I'm going to finish this series. Unlike most Fire Emblem games, this has 12 chapters instead of 20. This doesn't mean the game is short, however, it just means the maps are way longer. Sigurd is the main lord of this game, and this chapter we need to save our dear friend Ideen. There are various characters that join this chapter, but the most important ones are our sister Ethelyn, her husband Quan, and their knight Finn. Ethelyn is our first healer, Quan is a promoted unit, and Finn is special, but we'll get to why that is later. Quan has a javelin, and normally I'd want to trade this to someone who needs it more, but trading is weird in this game. Instead of just being next to someone and trading, you have to sell your weapon to a broker and then have the person you want to trade it to pay double what you sold it for, which wouldn't make sense money-wise unless everyone has their own money pool. Oh, by the way, everyone has their own money pool. So it's a little too much effort to trade it off them. I mean, why go through the effort when I can just have Sigurd win? Now that we've seized our castle, it normally would end the map. But in this game, you move on to the next castle until all of them on the map are conquered. Then the red-haired Arvis shows up, gives Sigurd a silver sword, and then leaves. Seems like a pretty cool dude. After clearing all the castles, Sigurd finds that Ideen has been taken to the neighboring country of Verdane, where we run into Eldigan, our lord friend. He questions why we're invading, but after he hears why, he says he promises to have our back. At the start of the map, we see Ideen escaping with a thief called Dew, and they have to regroup before they get hunted down. I have a much simpler plan though. I'm gonna throw Dew in a village where he gets 20% avoid, and he's gonna get a ton of XP while Ideen escapes. Surely he won't prove just how useful he's gonna be for me. When seizing the first castle of the map, if you manage not to get Astrid by the Swordmaster Arya and seized before she dies, she will join your party along with the young Prince Shannon of a neighboring country that you're at war with and you're now harboring, but Sigurd says he's just a kid. Upon seizing the second castle, Sigurd saves a white-haired maiden by the name of Deirdre, but before they can have a meaningful conversation, she gets scared and then runs into the woods. Apparently Sigurd stunk a little too bad like he was at an anime convention, but in light of this, he still rushes into the forest to find Deirdre, and then they get married on the spot. What marriage does in this game is two things. Number one, it allows you to trade money with each other, and two, there's a chance, as the community puts it, a marriage crit, which is just an extra chance to have a critical hit. As we get to the final castle, I decide to use Deirdre to silence him, not letting this guy play the game so I can easily end the map. Upon hearing the news that his country is starting to get taken over, King Chagall gets so upset at Sigurd that he sends all the lords after him. Eldigan then goes to confront him to stop him, to explain why Sigurd's doing this, only to get thrown in the dungeon. This leaves Eldigan's sister Requise under attack from the other lords nearby, so we have to go help her. So it's time to conquer in the name of friend defense? Now let me introduce you to Lewin, or some of the people know him, Epic Divorce Man. When I think of an FE4 unit, this is who I think of. Not because of how broken he is, but the headband, the hair over his eye, and how extremely nonchalant he is. This man's gonna carry our army, just you wait. King Chagall sends out Pegasi that are looking for the lost Princess Silesse, claiming that we killed him, so they're out for revenge. That prince totally isn't Lewin, and I managed to accidentally send someone inside my base instead of guard it, causing me to game over and have to do the map all over again. So let's see here. After 3 streams, I managed to complete the map. Eldigan then gets out of jail, yells at us for taking over his country. We're like, yo, dude, trust me, bro. He takes the somehow still alive King Chagall to a neighboring country while Sigurd, quote unquote, figures it out for 12 months. Then 6 months later, Chagall sends everything he has at us, including Eldigan. He got tired of waiting. Before we can actually go fight Eldigan, something terrible happens. Deirdre, who is not deployable for the battle, suddenly deploys, leaving her son Sigurd with Shannon, so she can go find Sigurd, then immediately gets kidnapped by Dude in Hood. Also, our brother-in-law is literally within eyeshot, but he won't remember, which is totally not why he leaves after this map. And then Eldigan finally charges. Most of our units are far away from home, so I have to start shipping them as fast as I can, and I'm gonna run into some issues. Then after spending all my luck for my entire next gacha game, we send Requise up to talk to her brother. He goes back to talk with Chagall to get him to stand down, and Chagall gets big mad, says, nah, I'd win, and then beheads Eldigan. We then kill him, look at a beheaded Eldigan, and immediately find out Deirdre was kidnapped. Sigurd is briefly catching more L's than a certain Effie protagonist. The priest Claude then joins our party, who happens to have the Valkyrie staff. This staff can be used to bring someone back from the dead, which would have been cool to use on Eldigan if only it let me. I haven't talked about how good promotions are in this game, but after a character reaches level 20, they can promote to a better class, and this is just how many stats promotion gives. Our country claims that we killed the prince that's in a different country, by the way, and that we're harboring the prince of that country. Well, that's true. Instead of talking this out, we then flee to Silesse to hide. And as soon as we get there, Quan, Ethelyn, and Finn leave to try and get reinforcements. So there are two important things to do in Silesse. One, have Aaron and Sylvia talk to each other, causing Aaron and Lewin to get married, causing a busted pair. And then two, after the queen gets taken over and you save her, you send Lewin into the castle to talk to his mom to get the most powerful tome in the game, or SETI. While holding this, it will essentially make Lewin unkillable due to the amount of void it gives and just how powerful it is. Then we take down the castle and head onwards to face Granville head on. The capital is surrounded by many castles, and before we can start the map, a cutscene featuring Sigurd's father happens. He claims he's dying and needs to get a sword to Sigurd no matter the cost. This means I have to rush up to save him, and I managed to have a death because of how much I was rushing. Azel the mage, forced to die for a sword. But hey, at least he had a kid. Sigurd then reunites with his father, gets his sword with 20 res that he'll have to spend a ton of money on to repair, but more importantly than that, for Sigurd, his dad dies right in front of him, giving him further motivation to see this through. Alright, fine. We did use the Valkyrie staff and Azel so that he could come back to us with the secret of life. With sharing this, he can ensure that everyone in our army lives a very, very long time. In the middle of the desert, Quan and Ethelyn appear with reinforcements. For some reason though, Ethelyn is carrying her baby girl while having left the baby boy at home with Finn, which totally makes sense. But then Thracian wyverns show up with horse slayers, and they hate Quan. You can guess what happens next. When our party makes it to the castle gate, suddenly Arvis commands mages to meteor all of our enemies. I'm so glad we don't have to kill this guy. We then conquer and talk to Arvis. He decides to throw a big party and leads our whole party down a line where he decides to brutally murder all of us after showing Sigurd his new wife, who definitely isn't his old wife. Or, old? No, his wife. His wife. They're both married. Polygamy is allowed, I guess. Then it's over. That's it. That's the game. I didn't play good enough to keep everyone alive. So, sure, I have all this other footage in the time. Oh, you already know? Alright. Well, I guess it's time I came clean. At this point, I'm aware of something most people playing this game for the first time would not be aware of. Little did you know, I've been playing Eugenics Simulator to try and make sure every character we get from here on is good. They'll have the right weapons, the right stats, hell, the right parents. You might ask why? Well, it's because we're in Generation 2, and we get to use the children of our heroes. Here are all the pairings I made so you know who is who. For the past 17 years, Sigurd's son Selef has been raised by Shannon, the Prince of Isaac, in hiding. We then get found out, and then Selef decides it's time to take over and free Isaac. We then conquer our first castle where we run into a familiar face. Lewin! He lived! Well, he was holding for SETI at the time, so it kind of just makes sense he'd live. He wouldn't get hit, but he's not holding it anymore. He decided he wasn't going to fight anymore, but he would decide to be our strategist. He then introduced us to Julia, a white-haired girl who doesn't remember anything about her past. As we head to the castle, however, we run into two brothers. If you talk to one, you can recruit them. I have the option of a warrior with a skill or a dude on the horse. If you don't know what the right option is, then please don't play this game. It will hurt you. We then beat a map to see a cutscene of Finn talking to the boy who was left at home, Leaf, who's also protagonist of the next game. They are in need of reinforcements, so we're gonna help. I didn't let Finn get married, which lets him keep his inventory, so he still have his Brave Lance. Meaning he doesn't actually need reinforcements, he can take care of it all. Then Ares, the Black Knight, shows up. No, not that Black Knight. Ares, the Black Knight! He's the son of Eldigan, our dear friend we sent to get murdered. Luckily for me, he's on my side because this guy stole his girlfriend. After a lot of enemies, we take on the boss Bloom with a simple BK crit. We then head closer to Granville, but Lewin informs us we're going to have to deal with Thracia if we want this to go smoothly, which Leaf has been trying to do this entire game beforehand, which is already over by now. It makes sense, you just gotta look at a timeline. The Thracian King Tremont sends out a whole squad led by his daughter Altina to take us down. On the way to fight us, she decides she actually isn't doing the right thing and just allows her squad to go and then get brutally murdered by us. And I happen to notice Altina's inventory. Kinda wide how she can wield Quan's weapon, and she has all of Quan's weapons. Anyways, as we stumble upon a castle, we help Ced the Brave, the current wielder of the Forseti tome, which he got from his father Lewin. So you can guess how busted he is. I mean, look at these stats. Like, this is the boss of the chapter. We then learn why Lewin is known as Epic Divorce Man and head to Thracia. And it's time to take down Trevant. But before we can do that, let's make Self what his dad was. A man with a horse. Altina is once again on the field and it's time to send in Leaf. After learning Leaf is her brother, she then goes to confront her father just to get killed by her brother Arian. Oops, no gay bulg for me. Trevant then goes to attack us, but I refuse to leave my castle, so it's easy for Leaf to get revenge on his parents and sister. Here's that Arian didn't kill Altina and then tells her to go back where her family is, which you'd think means she goes and talks to Leaf, but it actually means she goes and talks to Silesse for some reason. This is where I learned something unique about enemy AI. If an enemy is in getting reinforcements mode, it means they're going to run back to their vassal and not attack. This means if we kill all of Arian's reinforcements and surround him, we can simply just shoot him with a bow and he's dead. Easy. So Julia got kidnapped and I'm starting to have deja vu. As we get a little into the map, we see Emperor Arvis talking with his son's fiancée Ishtar. Arvis orders her to free all the children that are being kept as slaves, but then Julius, his son, shows up and puts Arvis in his place. Turns out Arvis isn't the big bad guy. His son is. Julius and Ishtar take to the field, and the only way to make them retreat is to defeat one of them, which in fact means I defeat Ishtar and then he runs away. After learning that Julius has left, Arvis then releases all of the children and gives a sword to a bishop. A final act of defiance against Julius as he now waits for us to challenge him. We save the bishop and Self acquires Turfing, our beloved 20 res sword. It's time to take down Arvis. Arvis is known as one of the hardest bosses in this game because even with my extra 20 res, Self is still taking 40 a pop. And he has Pavis, meaning there's a chance he just won't take damage. Luckily for me though, I got lucky. But hey, he was just throwing for content, it's fine. Upon his defeat, Self then gets to meet his ghost parents and then we go on to the final map. The stage is set, the players are all here, it's the final showdown. There's plenty going on this map. There are castles to seize in all directions, and Julius, square in the middle. The map is ready to throw everything at you, whether that be berserk staves, sleep staves, everything. After a series of castles, we see Manfroy talking to Julia to send her out to attack us. The mission is to take over that castle before Julia dies from attacking one of us. We manage to get around her and defeat Manfroy, weakening the spell on our half-sister. We now use Leaf to teleport Self as close to Julia as possible, break her out of the spell, and then send her right back to that castle to get the Book of Naga, which for all intents and purposes is an instant win on Julius. It's time to fight the reincarnation of the Dark God, but win this time. Self actually stands a pretty good chance here with Turfing, where he can kill him in 8 rounds. Yep, 8 rounds, and that's if he doesn't heal. And here's what happens if you fight him with Naga. Took a long time to get here. The dragon. Oh, continue forces it to go another round. Oh, the dodge. The sound kills me. The sound of that kills me. You have brought ruin to me. Then I simply conquer and boom. Just like that, I've completed Fire Emblem 4 Genealogy of the Holy Ward, therefore completing every single game in the series. This video took a long time to come out, but I really appreciate everyone waiting for it. Please, if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one.